From the Butler Cubs Athletic Association, Coaches Roundtable, I'm Ed Codi. To my right, the Swami George Abraham. To my left, the Tiger Albert Campman. On Spotlight, let's start off with girls tennis. PIAA Championship 2A. The Knock Lady Knights defeated Moravian Academy 3-0 to win their first ever state title to go along with their WPIAL title. And they finished the season a perfect 17-0. They tied the Miami Dolphins. The four-time WPL singles champion Laura Greb, she defeated Moravian's number 1 6-0, 6-1. Senior Brooke Bauer, the WPIAL doubles champ, she defeated Moravian's number 2 6-1 and 6-0. And then freshman Emily Greb, she closed the door, defeating Moravian's number 3 6-0 and 6-1. Congratulations to Coach Nancy Conlon and her team, WPIAL and state champs and undefeated.
Well, they took care of Swicket Academy, and once they took care of them, I knew they could win the state championship.
Yeah, but you hear the young one winning 6 love.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not.
You don't get a third
change.
player like the younger Greb girl.
No, it's not changed.
No, you don't get. No, it will change.
Those
because
two.
they'll lose
Those
the top
two.
two.
But I mean, she'll
Those two
slide up.
girls.
But you get a third player like that, who would be number 1 on every other team. That's a dominating team. Yes.
And they'll still be good next year with the two Greb twins coming back and the other Bauer girl coming back.
Oh, they will be. There's another Greb twins coming back.
Yeah, they're ninth graders.
It was 0-1.
Well, I heard you mention 1.
Yeah,
So
Emily and Lindsay.
Well, George is right then.
Yeah, and what was 0-1? I listened to the score.
If it wasn't
No, there's twins coming back.
Right.
Swiftly,
the score was they crushed her. She's
they
back.
crushed them. Yes.
They
That
won
was
the
one.
doubles.
But see, I didn't know the other one. They had another one didn't play. I mean, might have played on the second doubles.
Right.
We didn't know about her. Right.
Now more gold for Knock. Knock Senior Micah won the WPIL 2A Cross Country Championship on his 18th birthday. How about that?
Great celebration.
And also boys cross country in 3A, Butler Juniors, C.J. Singleton and Sage Vavro. They finished first and second respectively in the WPL championships at White Oak. And football playoffs, our top performers rushing, Josh Huff, Beaver Falls, 210, Rashawn Reed of Rochester, 205, Ethan Susan of Wilmington, 160, Kyle Topinski of North Catholic, 109, J.R. Burton, North Allegheny, 95, and Caden Shear of Karn City. He rushed for 86 yards on 4 carries. Passing, Cole Spencer, Pine Ridge, 170 yards. He threw 4 touchdown passes, came into the game with 71, was 1 behind the all-time leader, Ben DiNucci, at 72. He takes over now, the new leader, at 75. And then we saw DiNucci on TV the other night against Philadelphia. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Joey Prentice of North Catholic threw for 155, 2 touchdowns, rushed for another 81. Ben Lane of Freeport, 145, and Greg Phillips of North Allegheny, 112. Receiving, Eli Holcomb of Pine Richland, 6 receptions, 109 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He scored 6 touchdowns the last 2 weeks.
So that's the guy, kid, young man, whatever you want to call it, that's had a great year.
Yeah.
That I want to give a little credit, a lot more credit to, because we always give the quarterbacks credit.
Right.
Man, what a year he's had as a receiver. Oh, my gosh.
I think he's a leading average receiver with close to 20 yards of reception.
That's
and he must have 10 or 12 touchdowns. I'd have to check on that. Nick Marr, another kid who's had a great year at North Catholic. He caught 5 for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brady Stevenson of Freeport, 4 for 74. Mario De Vivo of Freeport, 5 for 42, and Mason Crest of North Allegheny, 3 for 47. And commitment news, North Allegheny tight end linebacker Khalil Dinkins, he commits to Penn State, and he'll join his teammate from last year, Joey Porter Jr., who as a freshman starts at left corner for the Nittany Lions.
That might be one of the reasons North Allegheny's on our show all the time.
Yeah, I think so. not to mention they have a kid at Notre Dame.
Yeah, we're not saying Julietta. We're not saying.
I was listening like it wasn't Susquehanna.
Exactly.
No. Hey, girls soccer, this girl, she's just been outstanding the last 2 years here. McKenna Martin of Karn City, she scored 3 goals in a 4-0 win over St. Mary's. Next up for the Lady Gremlins, a District 9 title versus number 1 seed Clearfield. Chloe Weiland of Butler, 2 goals in a 4-0 win over Upper St. Clair. And in the semis, Butler 2, Moon 1, the winning goal by Vanessa Drohan. Next up, championship game versus North Allegheny. The Tigers a 3-0 win over Peters Township. Caroline Wroblewski of Mars, 2 goals and a 6-0 win over Oakland Catholic. Next up, they take on the Montour. The Mars Lady Planets now 14-0. Angelina Berkeley of North Catholic, a winning goal and a 1-0 win over Burrell. Next up, Shadyside Academy. And in boys soccer 4A, Seneca Valley 1, Butler 0 on a Nathan Eastgate goal. Next up for Seneca Valley, 12-1-1. They take on undefeated Norwin, 11-0-2. And in 3A, Mars 1, Hampton 0 in the quarterfinals game on a Dane Beller goal. And then Mars 3, South Fayette 1 in the semis. Mars now 17-0 will take on Franklin Regional in the championship. Volleyball playoffs, Moon 13-0 at North Allegheny, 13-0. That should be interesting. I think the Tigers are going for their 5th or 6th
I'll take
straight
North Allegheny.
You take the Tigers, you can't be wrong. Both Tigers.
Both Tigers, right?
Albert, your neck of the woods, and 2 schools in our area, North Catholic 13-0 against Elwood City, 16-0. That ought to be interesting.
Yeah, well, I followed them all year. Coach Retrudy has done a masterful job along with her father. And the girls are fired up because they're usually not here.
Have the Wolverines ever won a WPL championship in volleyball?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why not being there is excitement.
Yeah.
North Catholic might be like the old adage. We've been there before.
Put another band, make
Yes,
room.
yes.
Well, we can't lose because we have been both of these Butler and NA, 2 schools in our market area, and same here with North
Yes.
Catholic and
That's
Elwood
nice.
City.
That's nice.
Football power rankings, and 6A, North Allegheny remains undefeated, followed by Central Catholic, Mount Lebanon, Seneca Valley, and Cannon Mac. In 5A, Pine Ridge and Peters Township, Gateway, all undefeated, followed by Penn Trafford and Woodland Hills. In 4A, Aliquippa, Plum, Thomas Jefferson, Bell Vernon, and McKeesport. In 3A, Central Valley, North Catholic, Elizabeth Forward, all undefeated, followed by Keystone Oaks and East Allegheny. In 2A, Wilmington, Beaver Falls, Apollo Ridge, Sarah Catholic, all undefeated, followed by Stowe Rocks, and in there tied, number 5, Karn City, 6-2. In 1A, Clareton, Jeanette, Rochester, Shenango, and California. Why is Karn City there? The Gremlins beat undefeated Brookville 16-14 to win the District 9 2A title. Karn City lost to Brookville early in the season, 44-0.
Wow.
Imagine coming back and
tremendous.
winning. And they win it on a field goal by Owen Colwell with 4.7 seconds left. He kicked a 27-yarder to give him the win.
That's like a 50-yarder in the pros. How about the pressure on that
The pressure.
kid? Yes.
You're losing 14-13.
It was no great night either.
No, it wasn't. You're right, George.
No,
You're
it was
right.
not.
That sounds like what happened to Mount Lebanon Central Catholic the second time.
Now, I'm going to mention that. It's a good point. Next up for Karn City, 6-2, they take on District 10 champ Wilmington, a 19-14 winner over Farrell for their 5th straight District 10 title. Karn City is going to have to contend with that powerful ground game led by Ethan Susan. Seems like he rushes 150 yards every game he plays.
He does, and that's they're hard to upset Wilmington because they don't turn the ball over, and usually upsets occur because of turnovers.
And usually you have 3 guys who can run the ball.
Yes.
It's just not one that you can.
Yeah,
key
their
on.
quarterback's usually a blocker. He pitches it back and leads them through the hole. Hey, tough go for Farrell. We have to say something.
Three losses to
But
Wilmington.
2 within a
21-20 and 19-14.
and they were forced up, despite
Forced.
graduating a handful of kids into AA. Wilmington's got 5 straight district titles, stayed the same, and the team down there has 9 bazillion state titles and stayed the same.
How's that happen? Eddie?
Transfers.
It's hard to account for that.
Southern Columbia does not move.
Right.
Little Farrell and Little Aliquippa, they
get
take it
get
out on
bumped up.
both them.
For
It's not right. It's just not right. You
Because they're
heard.
not transferring in there to play.
We challenge you to call us, PIWA. We'll challenge you on this.
Yeah,
one.
Aliquippa-
I have no idea why those 2 teams.
Aliquippa
were
should be
picked on.
1.
Yes,
1A.
Farrell and them
It's
should be
transfer.
2 of the small
No,
schools.
it's transfers is what it is. There's a success formula, which they all hit.
Now is Farrell
But
going to try
Wilmington-
again to go into
No,
a
Wilmington
WPIL?
went and fought this. They moved them up also,
Right.
and they had 3 kids who hadn't played, and they counted them as transfers.
I remember
And they
that.
went down and they said, no, these kids are not transfers. But see, Farrell, the nature of the area, the economy, the economics, they're in and out of there all the time. So they'll always get pushed.
Pushed.
Yeah,
That's
Farrell and
right.
Aliquippa, I was going to finish up on that. Because I'm from Farrell, and my daughter still lives up there. A kid will go to Farrell for 2 years, go to Sharon for 2 years, because their parents are split up. Go to Farrell, back to Sharon. They count it as transfer. It's not a transfer. The kid just happens to have to move between his mom and dad every year.
Didn't that happen a couple years ago between Ambridge and
And that's what
Star
and the same
Ambridge
thing
player
happened
went
to
drive across the bridge
Same
in
thing
Ella
happened.
Clipper.
Exactly. These guys are like this, though. I mean, it's across.
Like the other transfers at other schools, they come
to play
50 miles to come
Right.
play there.
Hey, 6A championship. It'll be undefeated North Allegheny versus Central Catholic. This will be Friday at North Hills. NA 21-7 over Seneca Valley. And how about this game? It was a surprise to me. Not that they won, but the fashion. Central Catholic 35, Mount Lebanon nothing. When they played several weeks ago, Central Catholic was winning 27-10, and then Mount Lebanon scored 27 unanswered points and win 37-27. This time, Mount Lebanon was held to total negative yards.
And I thought Coach Palgo said it best. We're not close to those two yet. You know, we got
Even
a
though we
ways
beat
to
them.
go. Yes, we got
Yeah.
a ways to go to
No
play.
movie before the game?
North Allegheny and Central Catholic.
No movie?
No movie.
He has a lot of players coming back
He needs more than that.
next year. Hey, all the rest of the divisions are all in the semifinal games this weekend. There are so many good games. If you, no matter what classification, if you wanted to take
You'll
in a
find
game,
them, yes.
you'd see a good game. Well, our stories of the week. Steelers 28, the Ravens 24. This is a rivalry. I think the Steelers went up one game on them, 27-26, something like that now. It was hard hitting. It was relentless. Guys were getting knocked over the place. You know, the Ravens lost their starting tackle, All-Pro Ronnie Stanley. Then they lost the guard. I'm saying they're done now. And then they got their best linebacker, Judon, thrown out of the game. And yet, I was just surprised. I don't know if you guys were, the way they ran the ball down the Steelers' throat. You look at the stats, you'd say 457 total yards for the Ravens, Steelers 221. Oh, the Ravens won easy. However, and the Steelers went only 48 yards rushing. 4 turnovers by Lamar Jackson. Pick six. Another interception led to a touchdown. Then he fumbled in the red zone. There's a 21-point differential. Let me ask you, and Ben, I don't think he had a turnover, and the Steelers had one fumble. Ben didn't have a great game, but he made the right plays at the right time. And there's a difference between Ben and Lamar. Lamar's a great athlete, but Ben is a veteran quarterback. He's been there before. He makes big plays. Lamar's last 3 games, guys, big games, Tennessee, Kansas City, and the Steelers, he's lost them all.
Turnovers.
Turnovers.
You called it. And number 2, that you got to score touchdowns, and you have to be able to pick up third downs. And you cannot pick up third downs if you're just running the football. You have to be able to throw it in the pros somewhere. And they don't pick up a lot of third downs because when you're 3rd and 8, you're not running the ball for a first down usually in the pros. You got to be able to throw the ball. They can't do it.
And you see what some teams are doing defensively. You throw a lot of zone at him, zone defenses, so the backs are facing him instead of running with their backs.
Everybody does that.
And force him to throw through these windows. But at some point, I'm wondering why, when they marched down the field and suddenly they got the red zone, they wanted to throw. What did Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, see that made him want to throw the ball when they were running it at will against the Steelers?
Well, my thought is now the defense can all move up. You know, you're playing too deep all the way down the field. When you get close to the end zone, everything shrinks, and I think that's the reason now everybody's there close to the line of scrimmage. That's my only thought on why he would do it.
They didn't stop that option. They were. I thought they were going to run that option down in the red zone because he could also fade back and throw off. I was surprised. I think it worked out well for the Steelers. Of course, in the middle linebacker, Robert Spillane had the pick 6, then he recovered another fumble.
Yeah, and Steelers find those kind of gems, I call them, that, you know, he's from Western Michigan. This the guy who just, you watched him back, he never stood out. They find him all the time. Baltimore does too. Baltimore and Pittsburgh find guys that can play.
And let me ask you guys, 12 tackles, bring back pick 6. Shazier before him, the same. Bush in between, the same. Is there something about that position that leads itself to accumulating stats?
One of the big things, you got to be able to run. Pittsburgh's middle linebacker, he has to be able to go sideline to sideline, and it's a difficult role because he also plays vertically. They play pass down the field too. I guess they found this guy he can run. I'm guessing that's all. The number one thing.
He's hard nosed.
You have to be able to run. That's what I'm saying.
And he tackles.
They're all hard nosed. There's not a guy playing that pro.
He has a little pedigree.
The week before it was the game that when he stopped the big guy from Tennessee.
I didn't think he was going to play. And he has a little pedigree. His grandfather is Notre Dame Heisman Trophy winner John Lattner from 1953.
That's pretty amazing, huh?
Out of the Chicago area. Lattner, I think, played 1 year with the Steelers.
It has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Genetics are big in the pros. There's no question about it.
You know, the Steelers lost the statistics, but the second week in a row, they have a resolve about them, a resiliency. They find a way to win. 7-0 is 7-0.
Yeah, they got a formula, though. They're not turning over, and the other team is turning over. They had one bad game when Roethlisberger threw 3 interceptions against Tennessee. Other than that, they're trying, and they are forcing teams to kick field goals. That's what you do. You're going to give yardage in the pros. Don't go by yardage. You're going to give it up.
They did. The other danger we've discussed on this show 100 times, losing the same game twice. Tennessee lost the Steeler game to Cincinnati.
Yeah, they did.
And we're going to mention them. But Cincinnati, they're playing some pretty good football. They easily could be at least 500, if not better. They've lost some tough games.
I told George before the season.
I'm impressed with Burrows.
Cincinnati's really good. No,
they're really.
They got a good team. They're not. They can beat anybody any Sunday.
They got weapons.
And they're good defensively.
Boyd had 70 yards receptions Sunday.
Six for 67 and a touchdown
7
pass.
targets. Yeah.
Claypool still coming up big. He catches the winning touchdown pass. Let me say this. At one point, does Harbaugh maybe start to worry or question about Lamar's performances in a big game?
I'd be worried. I'd be worried
there's some question
yeah.
about it now?
I'd be worried about it because he's perfect. If you are running the football and be able to hit play action to the tight ends, he's really, really good. But when he gets to 3rd and 8 and you build a fence around him, he's not super accurate.
To try and thread it through that window, he's going to see a steady diet of zone blitzes.
You're being kind, not super accurate. You're being kind.
But we thought he could do it, though, George.
Yeah, I know,
George more than anybody.
George
loved Josh.
I'm disappointed.
His passing,
he's just not a super passer.
His passing has regressed. He was a better passer last year. He was a better passer last year.
You wonder if they have found something dating back to San Diego in Baltimore 2 years ago, before they were the L.A. Chargers.
Well, you know, once they find something that gives you trouble, they're going to copy.
Well, the big thing they're doing, I told you, they're putting a spy on, and you said it, Eddie. He said it clearly. They're all playing zone against them. When they first started playing, they play man. They turn their backs, and he take off running, and they wouldn't know he's running.
He's running behind a defensive back.
Yeah, that's a big key.
Hey, Dallas 23-9 losers to Philadelphia. It was a starting debut for Pine Richlands. Ben DiNucci. He was 21 of 40 for 180 yards, but he had to run for his life half the time. The Dallas offensive line couldn't do much against the Philly defensive front four, which is one of the better front fours around. And I'm sitting there watching, I'm thinking, just 5 years ago, he was on our show as our male athlete of the year. Here he is, one of maybe a dozen or more Western Pennsylvania quarterbacks who've played in the NFL.
What a great thrill it had to be for the family to watch him playing in the NFL. One thing I thought about the game, and it happens to every quarterback, and the speed of the game is so immensely fast.
Tremendous.
That guys that look open aren't open. Guys who and you see the pass rush coming all through his life. He's got away from those guys. You don't get away from those.
I think he's going to learn. Get rid of the ball a little bit faster.
Those big guys, those 6'6", 300-pounders, run like deer.
Dallas is a disgrace.
I thought their offensive line was one of the better offensive lines around.
They lost 4 starters.
They can't run the ball.
They lost 4 starters.
Yeah, they've had guys.
You can't lose 4 starters on offensive line and survive. There's no chance.
And to mention your game, Tennessee lost twice. Cincy bopped them 31-20. Yep. Burrows 249 yards, 2 TDs. Boyd with 6 receptions for 67 yards. They're really playing well. I really think the Steelers, their next 9 games will be favored in every one, including Baltimore at home on Thursday night. But I think their 2 toughest games may be with Cincy.
They better not take it for granted because Cincinnati can beat anybody. And they have to go to Buffalo. That'll be the other tough one. But other than that,
well, you see what happened last night with Tampa Bay.
Oh, it's right there,
and the
right
Giants,
in front of you. Yes.
I talked to George. I said, I told you Tampa Bay would kill them. When you start trying to figure things out in the NFL, it doesn't work.
There seems to be one thing clear: the Jets are the worst. The Giants aren't near the Jets.
No,
I know they only have one.
The Giants are not too far away.
No.
Their defense isn't bad. No one's really blown them off the
Jets
field.
are shots.
And it's a shame they got Saquon Barkley hurt because that really hindered their progress. But and in the NFL, Dallas, we say anything can happen, but there's no line. I'd make the Steelers 16-point favorites.
They are. They will be. They will be, no question.
And I don't see the Steelers having any trouble with them.
It's NFL. That's what you're right.
The
I mean, on paper, it looks like that's just an easy win.
Well, Andy Dalton played too.
Dalton is coming back.
Is he coming back
yes,
this week?
Coming back, yes.
Now, New England 2-5. What's at stake here? Nothing lasts forever in great dynasties. The Yankees haven't made it to the World Series in, 10 years now? New England has had 17 straight years, 10-plus wins. Take a miracle for that to happen. They've won 11 straight AFC East Division titles, and they've had 19 straight winning seasons. I don't, with 2-5, and the way Newton is struggling, and I'm wondering, why is he still in there, quarterback?
They don't think Stick can do it, or he'd be in there. That's just fact. I mean, you can see it.
And he's going to ride it out.
Yeah, because he just thinks in practice every day that he looks better than Stidham.
To Belichick's credit, they mentioned about 8 players opted out and how many he lost. He said, no excuse. He said, listen, we've sold out. We got the best players we could over the years, and now this is where we are. He said, there's no excuses. They have to rebuild.
Quit making them.
No, he didn't make it. They bring it up to him all the time.
He quit making them. 2-5, you are what you are.
Right.
You're a Parcells guy. He's 2-5, and he caused it because he's the reason Brady left. He's part of the reason 7 of the guys left.
He's not making any excuses.
Indirectly, he is.
But when they ask him stuff, he's answering their questions.
He never answered before. He just got.
They're answering now. But let me say this: he didn't forget how to coach. So don't write this year off as the end of him and what's going on in New England. They'll be back.
I won't get into it on the show. This is the one for about an hour discussion. But
yeah,
I know who the key to that victory, who that team was. It wasn't Belichick.
Well, it was Belichick.
Brady.
I disagree with you. Brady was offense.
Where's the proof
but Belichick's defense.
Where's the proof this year?
Okay.
Wait a minute.
What was the score of the last Super Bowl?
Did he quit coaching?
13-3.
I'm going to ask you a
They held the Rams to one field goal.
Did he quit coaching this year?
No, he didn't quit coaching.
Well, why are they losing?
Well, who does win without players? Let me ask you that.
No, and I asked that question.
Any team, a star player always gets the credit. The quarterback, for sure. Absolutely.
No, you're giving all the credit to Belichick.
No, I'm not. I get
George,
Brady
who's been giving the credit to?
That's what it
No. I give Brady all the credit.
You're acting like Belichick's the only guy coaching.
You're not giving Belichick any credit.
What? I think he's one of the top 5 coaches in football. But he would have no Super Bowls without Brady. It's proof this year.
Well, would Noel have won any without Bradshaw?
But I don't talk about Noel. Did you talk about Noel with Belichick?
No, I'm just saying.
I never heard you talk about Noel. You talk about Belichick.
Noel's been done for 30 years.
You don't talk about Walsh. You don't talk about... You on this show,
we went over that, Albert.
Bow down.
No, Albert,
Eddie, you bow down to Belichick.
I gave you our rule. Lombardi, number one. We went right down the line.
That's your
Lombardi,
number one.
Paul Brown. And yeah, it's my number one.
But you don't bow down to those other guys. You bow down to Belichick.
He's a great coach.
Yes, he is. I didn't say that.
Coach. But I don't give up. I give a lot of credit to Brady.
What's his record this year?
Yeah, it's 2-5.
So it can't be. Is it either him or not him?
But did you give him any credit when he did win?
Yes, I do. He's one of the top 5 coaches of all time.
All right. Well, we agree to disagree.
No, you're building him up this year like he's doing something.
No, I'm not.
He is
killing
him because he ran all the players away.
People want to jump on him now because there's a door open to attack him and bring him down. He didn't run them all away.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. Well, what's the difference of opinion?
Ask it. It was Belichick. He hated his guts so bad he got out.
Hated who?
Belichick. He hates him.
Hey, let's. I know we have to move on. Avery Williams, the Steelers pick him up.
I like that one, Eddie.
He picks him up. They pick him up in a trade from the Jets. They give a 5th-round pick. I think it's a good move. It's like him winning the lottery, going from an 0-18 to a 7-0 team.
But you went to bed, you were 0-7,
It gives them some depth at linebacker.
No, you got to be decent from that contract you got before.
Kevin Colbert. Listen, pulling out all the stops.
Absolutely.
Understands this year may not come again.
Absolutely.
I think he gets a lot of. Now, if I want to give somebody the credit, that's why I give the credit to the Steelers.
Yeah.
Their front office forever.
The cap guy
has found guys and how to do it.
We said that a couple weeks ago between him and Tomlin and Micah Fitzpatrick and picking up these players and then the
cap guy
too. Johnson and Claypool.
The cap guy.
Yes.
Yes.
You know why the cap guys get so much credit? Because they get a quarterback they pay a lot of money to.
Yeah.
Rossborough makes a lot, but somehow they kept their defense intact.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
tremendous
Yeah,
job.
That's good. You're right.
They lost Hargrave, and then they drafted to get the rookie. Was it
Right.
Bugs, who came up with a couple
Amazing. He
good
made a great
He
plays?
was in there Sunday.
Yes.
He did a couple of great things.
He's wider than he is tall, that dude.
And the Steelers, they find guys, they come in, they want to play defense for them.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to our power rankings. I have the Steelers at number 1, followed by Kansas City, Tampa Bay, even though with that narrow win over the Giants. But just goes to show you when you go on the road, you better be ready to play no matter who you are. Seattle continues to win without much defense, followed by the Saints and Baltimore. You got a big game coming up this week between Tampa and the Saints.
You know, I'm the one guy that thinks, Eddie, that Kansas City's better than Pittsburgh. I still think Kansas City's better. I think if they play,
Steelers seem to play well against Kansas
I don't know how
City.
Pittsburgh will stop Kansas City. I don't know. They just seem like their defensive backs will not be able to cover Kansas City. I think they might have to pull the Eddie. They may have to run the ball against Kansas City and keep the ball away from
Well,
them.
the way
You know
it is
what?
now, they're playing Pittsburgh.
Kansas City's run defense is much better.
That's what Pittsburgh has to do.
Spagnola's done a
How
much
about
better
if they
job.
play in Pittsburgh in January? Might
I
not be
think
able to
he
pass.
likes that. No, Mahomes likes that. He does. He likes that bad weather.
play in the
He
bad
plays
weather?
great bad weather. Yes.
Hey guys, college football, no whiteout at State College is more of a redout. Ohio State controls the line of scrimmage and they dominated it to beat Penn State 38-25. Penn State 0-2 now out of the top 25. Justin Fields, you like as a Heisman
my
candidate,
gosh.
318 yards, 4 touchdown passes. Penn State, Sean Clifford sacked 5 times. Only 48 yards rushing for the Nittany Lions. And someone said, well, it's their first home loss in 7 years. I said, Ohio State's no rent-a-wreck. They're playing,
I mean, everybody.
playing someone your own size. They're not playing Akron
They
or
beat
Kent
everybody.
State
No.
and
Exactly.
all
They
those
beat
teams.
everybody.
Right.
You know, one thing about George Brady made this public last week. The guy who made the worst decision of all time in my last 10 years is
Kirby
Kirby
Smart
Smart.
had to be.
George, tell
Well,
the fans
right,
again what he did.
Right.
No, he chose those 2 guys over Fields. Fields is.
What did he
Tremendous.
see?
Tremendous.
No, he's
Jake
great.
Fromm is a nice quarterback. He is a nice quarterback. But he isn't
Fields
Justin
is a star.
Fields.
Yeah.
Fields is sensational.
Well, Pitt off last week, 3-4.
Best thing that happened,
They're at 2-4. Florida State. Pitt favored by 1.5. By the way, you know Narduzzi. What's this say? In his 6 years, he's had 4 offensive coordinators, and the offense is struggling again. And then you get the news that safety Paris Ford. Now they said he opted out. Did he opt out or did he quit after 7 games? He was benched in the 4th quarter against Notre Dame.
My thinking is he had enough of this losing. And you think, I don't want to be a part of it. Remember, he played at Clarendon. Was it Clarendon, George, Eddie?
No,
Was it
he's still Valley.
Still Valley, that's right. Well, he's got used to, he's used to winning games. And you get to Pitt, and all of a sudden it wears you down thinking, Narduzzi said we're going to win this game. He said we're going to have a great season. Then he starts making excuses. Talking about excuse maker. There's an excuse maker.
I think they have trouble
Narduzzi.
with their remaining 4 games. Hey, number 1, Clemson 34, Boston College 28. Boy, Boston College looked great, built up a 28-10 lead. It was the biggest comeback at home ever for Clemson. They win behind their freshman quarterback. I'm going to give you his names.
I just know he's DJ.
DJ Uan Galile, who threw for 342 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Phil Jacoby, he had a nice game, 12 of 24 for 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, through 7 games, Jacoby has thrown for 1,875 yards and 14 touchdowns, the most prolific passing in the first 7 games of any quarterback in BC history. How important is he to their offense? He counts for 78% of it.
We always knew he was a good player.
Yeah.
We watched him play. We always knew he was a good player. He just needed a chance, that's all.
And now Trevor Lawrence is out for the Notre Dame game with COVID. These teams, Notre Dame 6th nationally defense, Clemson 7th. Clemson averages 46 points a game. However, Notre Dame 35. Clemson favored by 6.5. How do you guys see the game?
Worst thing that happened was Notre Dame was last week's Clemson game. If Clemson wins that game by 5 touchdowns, I pick Notre Dame. I'm scared to pick Notre Dame now because Clemson's going to be ready for them.
George?
Notre Dame.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think a field goal is going to decide it. I'll lean towards Notre Dame playing at home, and with the freshman quarterback, they're under that kind of pressure. That's it for us. We've run out of time. So much more to talk about when we get to the World Series and some things going on with the Pirates, too. But that's it. We'll see you next week.